The red tally light snaps on and Denzel doesn't wait for introductions. He leans into the desk, voice calm but cutting. America is exhausted from miracle deals, he says, eyes locked on Trump. Your get-rich-quick lies are draining this country, of patience, of trust, of hard-earned money. A ripple runs through the studio. Trump smirks, palms open. I built things. I created jobs. People love what I do. Denzel doesn't blink. You repackaged hope like a late-night infomercial, act now, limited time, biggest ever, then stuck the bill to the very people you promised to lift. You sell shortcuts, then point to the wreckage and call it someone else's fault. The moderator tries to steer toward tax policy. Denzel doesn't give an inch. This isn't about spreadsheets. It's about character. Every crisis becomes a pitch, every headline becomes merch, every doubt becomes an enemy to blame. That's not leadership, that's a coupon for chaos. Trump leans forward, voice rising. I made America strong. Best economy, best border, best slogans, Denzel cuts in. But people can't feed their kids with slogans. Veterans can't pay medical bills with hats. A single mom in Cleveland doesn't need another promise, she needs someone who won't gamble her future like a casino grand opening. The audience murmurs, phones lift, the control room punches in for close-ups. Denzel's tone stays even, surgical. You call it winning. But it's always the same pattern, promise now, invoice later, blame forever. You talk like a tycoon and act like a door-to-door salesman who never plans to come back. Trump jabs a finger. You're an actor. You read lines. I learn the script, Denzel says, tapping the desk, and then I look for the truth underneath. That's what America is doing with you. We're reading past the tagline. The moderator swallows. Denzel reaches into his jacket and places a thin folder on the table. Since you love deals, let's do one, facts for slogans. I'll trade you receipts for the truth. Which can't-miss promise should we start with, jobs, charity, universities, or the bill taxpayers pay when your shortcuts fall apart? The folder sits heavy under the lights, and Trump glares at it like it's radioactive. Denzel flips the cover slowly, letting the silence work. The first page is a headline blown up in bold letters, Trump University Settlement, $25 million. Education, Denzel says evenly. You told working-class Americans you'd give them the tools to climb. Instead, they bought a ladder that snapped in half the first time they stepped on it. You called it success training. Courts called it fraud. Trump waves his hand, voice sharp. Old story. Everybody settled lawsuits. That's business. You wouldn't understand, Hollywood doesn't build anything. Denzel doesn't flinch. Hollywood may sell dreams, but at least when the curtain falls, nobody's lost their life savings. You cashed tuition checks like they were poker chips. Then you blamed the students for believing you. The audience gasps. Some clap. Trump's jaw tightens. He fires back, fake news. Those students got value, great seminars. Seminars? Denzel leans forward, voice firm but not loud. Families mortgaged their homes. Parents thought they were buying a future for their kids. They weren't buying a seminar, they were buying trust. And you cashed it out. The moderator tries to cut in, but the tension is electric. Denzel closes the folder, his hand resting on it like a gavel. You call that business? America calls that betrayal. Trump's face flushes. He jabs the air with his finger. I made billions. I'm rich, successful, stronger than anyone here. That's proof I win. Proof? Denzel says, shaking his head. Proof of what? That lies pay? That bullying cashes checks? That America can be sold like another hotel brand? He looks straight into the camera. If that's winning, America should demand a refund. The studio erupts in noise. Some cheer, others boo, but no one is still. Trump slams his palm on the desk. Denzel just sits back, calm, almost surgical. Your empire of shortcuts was always going to collapse. Because shortcuts cut people. And America is tired of bleeding. The moderator stares, frozen. Trump sputters, reaching for words, but the silence from the crowd is louder than anything he can muster. Trump finally regains his footing, forcing a smirk. You act like I'm the villain, Denzel. But guess what? People voted for me because they believed in my strength. They knew I wasn't afraid to fight. They saw a winner. Denzel leans forward, his voice low and steady. Strength isn't squeezing every dime out of desperate Americans. Strength isn't building golden towers while hollowing out the foundation of trust. Strength is sacrifice. Service. Putting others before yourself. Tell me, Donald, when did you ever do that? Trump snaps back. I gave people jobs. Thousands. More than you could dream of. That's service. That's leadership. The audience shifts uncomfortably. Denzel's reply cuts through like a blade. Jobs? Ask the contractors you stiffed. Ask the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters who walked home unpaid because you filed bankruptcy after pocketing the profits. You turned the American dream into a collection notice. Gasps ripple across the studio. Trump's face tightens. He raises his hand, trying to dominate the stage. Those workers got what they deserved. They didn't manage their business well. The crowd explodes with boos. The moderator tries to calm things down, but Denzel doesn't wait. He stands, commanding the space. His eyes burn with controlled fury. You didn't just cheat businesses. You cheated America. Every time you dodged taxes, every time you rigged the rules in your favor, every time you bragged about loopholes, that wasn't genius, it was theft. Theft from schools, hospitals, veterans. The camera zooms in on Trump's face. Flustered, red, his mouth moving without sound. Denzel points to the audience, his voice rising with conviction. This nation doesn't need a man who profits off pain. It doesn't need a man who sees every crisis as a cash grab. We need leaders, not hustlers. And you, Donald, are nothing more than America's most expensive hustle. The crowd roars. Some leap to their feet, clapping and shouting. Trump slams his fist on the table, muttering into the mic, wrong. All lies. He's acting, that's all. But Denzel doesn't move. He simply folds his arms, letting the truth hang heavy in the room. The silence between words is louder than Trump's protests. The balance of the room has shifted. The audience knows it, and so does Trump. Trump, desperate to regain control, slams his hand on the podium. You think you're some kind of hero, Denzel? You're an actor. That's all you are. You play pretend for a living. You don't understand the real world of politics and business. The jab hangs in the air for a second, but Denzel only chuckles, a sound sharp enough to slice the tension. He leans in toward the mic, calm but piercing. You're right, Donald. I am an actor. But at least when I stand in front of people, they know it's a performance. With you, the act never ends. You turned the presidency into your biggest stage, and every American paid the ticket price. The audience erupts, applause, laughter, shouts. Trump tries to push back over the noise, his face flushed. That's not true. I gave America hope. I gave them results nobody else could deliver. Denzel doesn't miss a beat. Hope? Is that what you call casinos collapsing, universities shut down under fraud lawsuits, charities that funneled money into your pocket? That's not hope, Donald, that's grift. You used America like one of your casinos. And just like those casinos, you left it broken, bankrupt, and scarred. The moderator raises a hand, but the audience is already alive, some chanting Denzel's name. Trump glares at them, his jaw tight, searching for a counterpunch. Finally, he shouts, "You don't know what you're talking about. You've never built anything." Denzel steps closer, his presence overpowering. He lowers his voice so the studio goes silent to catch every word. You're right, Donald. I never built towers of glass and gold. What I've built is respect, earned from decades of hard work, from telling stories that inspire people to rise above their circumstances. You built walls, between rich and poor, truth and lies, America and its own soul. And that's why you'll never understand what leadership really means. The silence is deafening. Cameras pan to the audience, some nodding, others leaning forward in awe. Trump opens his mouth but no words come. He shifts, adjusts his tie, but it's too late. In that moment, Denzel's words weigh heavier than any skyscraper Trump ever put his name on. The room knows it. The viewers at home know it. Even Trump, behind his forced scowl, knows it. The empire of lies has been exposed. The studio was on fire, not from flames, but from tension so thick it felt combustible. Denzel had just landed his most brutal line yet. Your get-rich-quick lies aren't just scams, they're draining the soul of this country. The audience roared, half in support, half in disbelief, as the camera zoomed in on Trump's reddening face. For years, Trump had turned bluster into a weapon, intimidating rivals with insults and spectacle. But this time it wasn't working. Denzel wasn't a politician looking for applause, he was a man channeling the anger of millions who felt betrayed. Trump snapped back, waving his hand dismissively. You think you're speaking for America? You're just another Hollywood mouthpiece, another actor playing tough. His voice cracked slightly, and the audience picked up on it. Gasps, whispers, then a sudden shout from the back, answer the question, Donald. The moment sliced through Trump's bravado like a blade. Denzel leaned forward, calm but unyielding. This isn't about me, and it's not about Hollywood. It's about broken promises, about men and women who gave their sweat and tears for a paycheck you never delivered. You cheated them, and now you want America to trust you again? That's not leadership. That's theft dressed up in a suit and tie. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, others booed, but no one was silent. The debate had transformed from policy points into a courtroom of public opinion, with Denzel standing as both witness and prosecutor. Trump tried to interrupt, but his words were drowned by the sheer force of the audience's reaction. Trump tried hard to hide his frustration, but his body language betrayed him. His shoulders tensed, his jaw clenched, his eyes darted around nervously. He gripped the microphone like he was trying to crush it. Denzel, he snapped, you don't understand how money works in this country. I built my fortune with brains, not handouts. I took risks, I built businesses, I created an empire. While you were memorizing lines on stage, I was building the world. But the reaction from the crowd was nothing like what Trump expected. A woman in the audience suddenly shouted, her voice cutting through the room, building? How many workers did you stiff, Donald? How many small companies went bankrupt because you never paid them? The entire room turned, eyes locked on her, as the tension spiked. Denzel turned slowly, acknowledging the outburst with a glance, then locked his gaze back on Trump. His voice dropped, calm but heavy, every word landing like a hammer. That's it, Trump. America isn't buying your fairy tale anymore. Your empire wasn't built with bricks, it was built with lies. And those lies are collapsing, one by one. The silence that followed was deafening. Cameras zoomed in on Trump's face. His lips trembled, sweat beaded on his forehead. Denzel's words weren't just an attack, they were a diagnosis, a national verdict being read out loud. Trump lashed back, his voice rising in desperation, this is a witch hunt. This is a smear campaign. I've done everything for this country, and you people turn on me? But it didn't sound like strength, it sounded like panic, like a man cornered with no way out. The audience erupted, some cheering, others booing, the noise shaking the studio walls. To the millions watching at home, it was crystal clear, Denzel hadn't just debated Trump, he had stripped away his mask in real time. Trump leaned forward, his face red, his voice cracking under the weight of the moment. You don't know what it takes to lead, Denzel. You're an actor. You read scripts. I ran the toughest business world on earth. People respect me because I win. The words echoed, but they didn't land. The crowd had already shifted. You could see it in their faces, eyes narrowing, whispers spreading like fire. They weren't buying it. Denzel didn't flinch. He leaned back in his chair, calm, controlled, almost surgical. Win? Is that what you call it? You cut deals with yourself and called them victories. You slapped your name on towers built by others and claimed credit. You bled contractors dry, left working families bankrupt, and called it business. That isn't winning, Trump. That's exploitation. The room fell into a hush. Even the cameras seemed to slow, zooming in on Trump's face, catching the flicker of uncertainty. He tried to respond, but his mouth opened without sound. For the first time, he looked small. Denzel pressed harder, his voice sharp as steel. A leader doesn't drain his people. A leader doesn't turn America into his personal slot machine. You've been playing the system like a casino your entire life, and the House is finally collecting its debt. The audience roared. Some rose to their feet, clapping, others shouting, "That's right." The noise drowned out Trump's stammered attempt at a comeback. His hands gestured wildly, but his words were lost in the storm. Millions at home saw it for what it was, not a debate, but an unmasking. Denzel hadn't just argued, he had exposed Trump's entire playbook in one brutal strike. Trump slammed his hand on the desk, desperate to reclaim the spotlight. Fake news. All of it. You're parroting the same lies the media has been feeding people for years. They hate me because I'm strong, because I fight for this country. And you, he jabbed his finger toward Denzel, you don't know a damn thing about sacrifice. Gasps filled the studio. The audience wasn't used to seeing Trump rattled like this. His face was flushed, his voice high-pitched, the rhythm broken. For years, he had bulldozed through critics with sheer volume. But now, he was unraveling. Denzel sat still, letting the silence work for him before delivering the blow. Sacrifice, he said, his voice low but carrying weight. Sacrifice is the soldier who comes home missing a limb. Sacrifice is the mother working 2 jobs to feed her kids while your tax cuts reward billionaires. Sacrifice is what Americans give every day. You've sacrificed nothing. You've taken everything. The crowd erupted, not with polite applause but with raw energy, cheers, whistles, even stomps against the studio floor. The sound thundered like a verdict. Trump tried to interrupt, but Denzel's words kept coming, relentless. You claim strength, but your strength is an illusion built on cheating and bullying. You think yelling makes you powerful? No. Power is earned by lifting people up, not tearing them down. The camera cut between Trump's clenched jaw and Denzel's piercing stare. The contrast couldn't have been sharper, one man spiraling, the other standing unshaken, holding the room like a general on the battlefield. For viewers at home, the moment was unmistakable. Denzel wasn't just challenging Trump, he was redefining what real strength looked like. Trump leaned forward, his voice cracking as he tried to regain control. You're an actor, Denzel. A Hollywood guy who memorizes lines. That's all you are, lines on a page. I've built empires, I've sat in the Oval Office. Who the hell are you to lecture me about America? The words hung heavy, but they didn't land the way he wanted. The audience shifted uncomfortably, some even booing. The attack felt desperate, hollow, and it showed. Denzel tilted his head, calm as ever. You're right, I am an actor, he said, voice steady. But even on my worst day, I know the difference between a script and reality. You don't. You've been playing a role your whole life. The strongman, the savior, the billionaire genius. But the mask has cracks, Donald. And tonight, the whole world is watching it fall apart. The studio broke into applause so loud it rattled the mics. Viewers at home could feel the shift. Trump's bluster was no longer commanding the room. Trump tried again, his words slurring into the microphone. They love me. People love me. Nobody's done more for this country than me. His voice grew shrill, like a man shouting into a storm, hoping volume would drown out truth. Denzel didn't flinch. He leaned slightly closer, his tone razor sharp. People don't love you, Donald. They fear you. And fear fades. Respect lasts. Respect comes from honesty, sacrifice, humility, the very things you've never given. The audience rose to its feet, a standing ovation in the middle of a live broadcast. Trump sat back, blinking, caught between anger and disbelief. The man who once thrived on controlling the narrative was now drowning in it. For millions watching, it was clear, Trump wasn't facing an actor, he was facing a mirror, and the reflection was tearing him apart. The studio had reached a boiling point. Trump was red-faced, gripping the edge of his chair like a man clinging to a cliff. His words stumbled, his defenses crumbled. For the first time, the former president looked small, cornered, rattled, and out of control. Denzel didn't need to raise his voice. He simply leaned into the silence, letting the tension sharpen every word. You wanted this stage, Donald. You wanted the lights, the cameras, the power. But here's the truth, you can't even handle the weight of your own lies. You've scammed builders, cheated workers, betrayed veterans, and now you're trying to scam the American people again. Trump tried to interrupt, stammering, fake news, lies, it's all lies, but the crowd roared back, drowning him out. Chants of, tell the truth. Tell the truth, echoed through the studio. Denzel raised his hand, calming the audience just enough to deliver the final blow. His eyes locked on Trump, unblinking. America doesn't need another salesman in the Oval Office. America needs a leader. And tonight, everyone watching can see, you're not a leader. You're a liability. And history will remember you, not as the man who built, but as the man who broke. The studio erupted. Some shouted in triumph, others sat in stunned silence. Trump slouched back, muttering under his breath, but it was too late, the damage was done. On screens across the nation, the image was seared into memory, Denzel standing tall, unshaken, while Trump shrank under the weight of his own unraveling. It wasn't just a debate anymore, it was a reckoning. And for millions of viewers, the verdict was clear, one man spoke for truth, the other for himself. Tonight wasn't just a debate. It was a mirror held up to power. Trump came in thinking he could sell another slogan, another illusion. But the truth doesn't bend, and Denzel made sure of that. The lies crumbled, the excuses collapsed, and what was left was raw, undeniable reality. America saw a man stripped of his mask, and another who refused to be silent. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of accountability.